Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
All righty. I am excited. I'm always excited when someone's in the studio and we get to talk about another outstanding, remarkable Black business. As you all know, we've been talking about what's next, the evolution of Black businesses, the evolution of entrepreneurship and ownership, evolving into owning your IP, owning your own property, owning all these things is that next thing that we're seeing. And so you all know we love to bring service-based businesses. Of course, I am an avid service-based fan because I run a marketing communications firm, and it's important that people see the people behind the scenes, like the people that are making the magic to make sure that people run, because people need to be your bottom line. At least that's what we say in our organization, that people are the bottom line. And this organization is all about people. And I'm excited to have the founder and the CEO, Kevin Davenport, of the Ideal Group. The Ideal Group it's gamifying the soft skill experience while providing the infrastructure to access soft skills conveniently and globally. The Ideal Candidate is dedicated to unlocking the full potential of individuals and organizations through transformative soft skill training programs. I did just find out it was a training program. So y'all, we're going to learn a little bit about Ideal Group. Kevin has a book. He is the author of The Ideal Candidate, a quick guideline for self-sufficiency and living with an aptitude of gratitude. The Ideal Candidate was awarded Most Influential Business of the Year 2023 by the Northwest Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Woohoo! Kevin is also the director of two programs at the Chicago Urban League Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center. Next Deal 9-week cohort-based intensive course on how to apply for your MBE, WBE certification with the state of Illinois. And we're happy to say that we are certified as an MBE. And Next Level Exchange 12-month cohort-based business development and a one-on-one mentorship program. So he is certainly helping entrepreneurs to scale, and that's important. And he is also nationally recognized for his social impact work in 2023 with the Microsoft Tech Maker Award. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, whenever I go through the bio, I actually read the whole bio because I recognize that this is something you want people to know about you. And so I think that's so important for people to understand it. But I want to, before we dive into who you are and the business and the impact that you're doing, both Chicago, that's where you're based, but global. You're not just in Chicago, but you are a global business. Who was Kevin as a little boy?
Kevin was ADHD, dyslexic kid that youngest of 6. So I grew up in a very large family, and it was just kind of a knucklehead. I was an athlete. I played sports growing up, so I never saw myself as an author for sure. I never even saw myself graduating college, to be completely transparent with you. So to be where I am now is interesting, especially in the education and impact space. I just thought I was going to go pro in soccer, and that was it. And
so you were a soccer athlete.
I was. I played everything growing up, but soccer was by far my number one. I played in Germany for the U.S. Harlem Cup when I was in 8th grade, and then all the way up into college. My junior year, we got third in the nation. So I do have an NCAA trophy and ring with Lewis University.
That's awesome. That ain't in your bio. I need that to be in your bio. That's why I like to pull it out. Put out the things that are not in the bio. And so you referenced dyslexia, ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, and let me ask this. How did your parents help you as that? Like, cause I think it's about the parents, right? And how they support you in that so that you could, right, be able to immerse yourself in the space where you still feel like you had a voice and you had something to offer this world. So how did your parents respond to that?
That's a great question. I would say in 3 different ways. So my mom initially with the whole learning thing, she realized it was above her. And she's like an educator too. She was a professor, Chicago State at a certain point. And even then she was like, no, something's going on. Like my son is intelligent, but he's not connecting the dots. So she signed me up for Sylvan Learning Center.
Oh, I remember Sylvan.
They identified my issue, and by the next year in school, I was getting straight A's and reading proficiently because they literally had to diagnose my type of dyslexia, how to go around it. And so that was it. That's why mom was like, so again, I would say for any parent that's like struggling with reading, you may have a child like me that has like an undiagnosed symptom, and you should take them to a professional if that is the case. Instead of like dragging it on. Yeah. And then I would say the other 2, with the whole sports thing, especially with the ADHD, if you got a kid like me, they have a lot of energy. So you need to make sure that you get that out of them. Otherwise, you're going to probably have more trouble at home. They're going to be doing stuff, but it's because I had all this energy, right? But if I'm going to school all day, then I go to football and soccer practice, I'm coming home tired. And then I'm going to do my homework and go to sleep, So having that constructive thing an outlet, and it's also habit building, I realize as I'm older. And I would say number 3, my mom has a performing arts school. So my mom pushed me to be a speaker at a very young age. So anytime like there's a little performance or announcement, she had me 5 years old be like, and the next act is so just to come out there and just say something and be on stage. And so
that's good.
After doing that, 2-3 events a year your whole life.
Yeah.
You kind of get used to public speaking.
Yeah.
Like
That you didn't have anxiety to stand up in front of people probably in high school as much as, wow.
Because of my mom.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. That's an incredible story and so let me say this. I've got to ask this because, a lot of times culturally, right? When I think about Black people, Black businesses, right, we have lack of access to resources, right? So just hearing this story that your mother found a resource too that was available and not just do what some families might do. Ain't nothing wrong with that guy. Ain't nothing wrong with that boy or, and so minimize it and to be able to do that resource. So, I'm really wanting people to know, like, as we continue to grow, right, and understand when you see that the trauma response, because I do think it's some trauma response, right, is ain't nothing wrong with that boy, ain't nothing wrong, because this is like, how can we undo that so that there is confidence in a young boy and a young girl who might have similar issues but feel like they can't, because we'll talk about ideal they won't ever be able to get a good job or, they won't be able to have a business. Those are real things because you are labeled as this thing, right? It's another label. Not only am I Black and brown, but now I've got this label. So how, or what can you offer to say, to a family or to a friend or to whomever that may be experiencing it, like, how can we undo some of that as a culture?
Yeah. decide that you're going to do something about it is the first step, right? Don't push it to the side.
Okay.
And then once you have, you made that decision, it's, how do you want to decide to take action and have a strategy around that? And it's going to take some level of sacrifice. And it's like, how much are you willing to? So even go back to my mom's story, Sylvan Learning Center is not cheap,
it's
right?
Not. That's
so
why I was
there's an expense to it. And then now you got time. So I was like, I remember my mom being like, well, it's only an hour class. I don't even have time to go all the way back home. So she's sitting in the parking lot the whole hour or going, and I remember these things. And so, yeah,
we could do GoFundMe. We do all the GoFundMe, like the cost. We could do a GoFundMe to help
for education.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be a whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that would be the tips I would say. Just decide that you are going to take action and come up with a strategy. And if the first strategy doesn't work, then keep moving forward. But unless you make that decision and you're just going to keep brushing it off, I feel like is where we really get into a bad habit or bad groove.
Do you think the label is important to be labeled as that?
I don't really like labels at all, right? But I'm just an advocate. Like we can never force how someone else feels about us or their opinion about us. So we can control their perspective. We can have influence, right? Like I can have an influence. It's for someone to respect me and be a person of subject matter expertise. But I can't make that person like me. Right. So like, I don't really care about labels so much as if I can walk into a room with value and talk to that. And so that's the same thing I give to my students is like, hey, who cares what label they put on you, what someone says, you keep being your best self, and then those labels will change or your perspective will be influenced by how your character is when they experience it.
And I think that's big for ADHD and just like it's a label. Like they walk with that label because you were diagnosed. But the one thing that we have to learn is because you were diagnosed does not mean this is my quote, guys. We say now we are different, but never deficient. And
That's
different doesn't make us bad, right?
That's right.
And understanding. So in the way that you process was different, right? And so there's nothing wrong with the way you process information.
So I'll even go into that. If you don't know what it's like to have dyslexia, right? We can take the word genius here. We got Genius Audio. We teach most kids to read genius, G-E, genius, right? We sound out. For my dyslexia, because it's, jumbled, I had to read right to left. Wow. So I learned how to read us, eus, neus, genius. Wow. So when you think about that, my brain has to do double the work because I'm reading each word right to left, but I still read sentences left to right.
Wow.
So where most kids are just like going left, and mine is doing a whole different kind of trajectory in my mind. So again, that's why I'm like tap into the professionals. But if you are also dealing with that, I'll speak on like my experience. It was very, very difficult. And I actually shied away from reading all the way up until I got to college. So it took a soccer scholarship for me to get accepted, for me to be like, all right, well, I'm here. Let me try to apply myself, read the first book. And it was difficult, right? So I made a decision. I talk about this in Ideal Candidate all the time, too. I made a decision. I said, I'm going to read for 15 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, no matter how I'm feeling. Care if I have a headache, my girl just broke up with me, whatever's going on in my personal life, it doesn't matter. I'm going to read for 15 minutes a day. And by that second year, I was reading books on my own. It was easy to read.
Wow.
But that first year, I was getting headaches. It was difficult, these different things. But second year, you like grow a muscle. And to the point now, I literally don't feel my dyslexia sometimes. It'll still happen. I'll say something or whatever. But like I used to literally like feel or see dyslexia when I'm in it.
Wow.
But after enough work, I'm here to tell you as an advocate, that's when it's like, you can get past that where you don't even feel that anymore.
I love that. I love that. Like, I love it. I love it because I was in a home where dyslexia was there. And so my mother responded like your mother, like, we're going to get help. Like, we're going to. And so my brother, and understanding the slower pace with it, because it was a slower pace of teaching than a fast pace kind of this. And so I do think that it's important. And I do think that for years, I think in some I haven't been diagnosed, but I think I have a little bit of ADHD because just the idea of just being still. So I've had to work through that. And so know that I think those are some of the best entrepreneurs though. But I don't know, Kevin, if that's proven.
I think so too.
But I think it's something to be said because we work on that kind of fast pace, kind of like, that, but we can't it's like we have to be doing something. So I do think that that's important. So as I think about your business and I think about your story, I think it's so appropriate that you have the ideal candidate. Like it literally is that, because what I want to make sure that everyone knows, the ideal candidate is not a search firm. So I want to get that out because he just told me that so that people understand. Because I do think when people hear it, the ideal candidate, it's a search firm. I got to find an ideal candidate. No, guys, actually there in some regards is, helping. And I want to make sure kind of like those entry level professionals who are having some challenges or soft skills and helping these companies. I want to make sure I got it right. So you tell me if I'm right, because I want to make sure people understand it, and helping companies in that entry level with those soft skills.
That is correct.
That is, I got it on point.
100%. Yes. So if a candidate comes in, they can do the job, right? So a great story, organization doing great work. Okay. Inglewood Urban Tech Academy. I want to give them a shout out.
Come on now, that's in Chicago.
That is.
On the South Side.
South Side, right? They do a phenomenal job with training. They teach like CompTIA A+, Microsoft, all that stuff. The organization, the cohort for us, it was CompTIA A+. They got all 10 of these candidates, these students' jobs, but after the first cohort, only 3 were still remaining after 90 days.
Wow.
Not because they couldn't do the job, because of some soft skill issue. One was a Facebook post.
Wow.
One was dressing for success, right? Coming dressed inappropriately. So these non-work direct related things are now taking jobs away. And so we came up with the, second cohort. He's like, hey, if you help us with the soft skills, maybe we'll, solve this retainer issue.
Right.
That second cohort, we had 100% retention after 90 days for all 10 students. So all 10 placed, all 10 remained after 90 days. And so super excited about that. But that led us to be like, hey, what if there's other organizations or businesses dealing with this exact same issue? So they need infrastructure to access soft skills conveniently, whether, it's not having to come up with a whole different curriculum, hire someone to do all that. Hey, we can come in almost like a consultant, train everything, improve your outcomes. And so based on that experience with Urban Tech Academy is really how we positioned as this service-based training company today.
And knowing the fact that there is a company that supports those that are having challenges, right? So we talk to Black businesses. We've had a number of them, and you are one of them. And so most of them, always talk about the people. I can't get good people. I just can't get good people. Like, well, how do you get good people? And then how do you get good people to stay with you? And so in those challenges, and I know you work with a lot of organizations, but with some Black businesses, like, are there some things that you see that should be addressed that maybe we're not doing? I don't know. I'm gonna be a little selfish and ask for, within, my own organization.
I'd be happy to answer that.
Yes.
And the CEO dictates the culture of the company. And so a lot of times my first thing is like, well, do you have an employee handbook? Yeah. Do you have these other basically foundational things so they understand the culture from day one? If you think about it, you go to any Fortune, if you work at Facebook, you're going to understand the culture. You're going to get an employee handbook. You're going to know exactly what to expect. If you go to work day one in most, of our small businesses, you're not going to get that same experience. It's going to be a lot more loose and a lot more, hey, get ready for fast pace, but there's not as much hand holding and like direct. This is what you do and not do otherwise. So we deal with a lot more ambiguity. And so there's frustration on both sides because the employee is like, hey, well, you didn't exactly tell me this in exactly that way. And the employer's like, well, it shouldn't have to be said. And it's like, well, no, there is a little bit of, there's something there, right? So if you look at even like a IBM and Google, IBM, they want you black dress suit, white shirt, and that's it. Yeah. Google, you can come in khakis and a t-shirt, and there's no big deal. Yeah. They both almost are very similar companies, right? But the culture will dictate what's appropriate and what isn't, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing that entrepreneurs can do to not be so frustrated is, hey, put the work in on the front end to train them so when they come in day one, or at least after those 90 days, because, okay, entrepreneurs too, past those 30 days is when the state cares. So if you're hiring someone, this is not 1099, this is not contract, but if you are hiring someone as a W-9, bring them on full time. After those 30 days is when the state is like, all right, well, now you're on the hook for unemployment.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So you should even have something on your thing of like, hey, after 3 weeks, so that way on that 21st day or whatever, you can get rid of them and you don't have to worry about unemployment. Right. You've given them a try. You're right. So what are the buffers that you're setting in place as well can also help and hopefully give something to the,
Yeah. I think you're being helpful because I think a lot of times people, sometimes we hire out of desperation, right? Mm-hmm. We hire out of fear. And we also hire out of reactionary, right? In some regards, though, we lack resources, right? We lack a lot of things that cause that. So it makes it hard. So I think one of the things that I think as organizations and as companies is that what I hear is take the time to assess you and the culture. That's what I got. Like, take 100%. The time to assess the culture, and is that the kind of people? And one of the things I've always said that when you have a high turnover rate of people, I never think it's the people. I said if there's a high turnover, it's leadership. And is that the case?
I agree.
Okay,
I 100% agree.
It's leadership because there's something in there culturally that either you promised or somebody promised, and that cycle is continuing to happen, and that's what's causing, because most people, and I maybe you know this, like most people leave companies for what reasons? Do you know?
Feeling unappreciated, unseen, stepped down on. Some people say like toxic work environments.
Yeah. But I've learned that it's less about money.
Exactly. Right.
It's less. It used to be,
especially with the younger kids.
Yes.
Especially entry level.
Yeah.
100%.
It used to be. It's I know in my generation it was like, girl, they ain't paying me. I ain't about to keep put. That was it. Now is they don't see me, they don't value me, they don't this, and I'm out. And there's parts that I respect that, right? I respect that you've placed a lot of value in how people should see you. I do. And so that's a benefit. So in ideal candidate, what are some of, and I do want to go back, soft skills. I want to ask that question. Because we hear that word, but I don't really know that people know what soft skills are. So I want you to describe, I know you gave us a few, but describe those soft skills that really impact a business.
Yeah, so soft skills are all the unsaid things that will dictate a company's culture. So when you think about the hard skills to do a job, right? Like I can use Microsoft Word, I can open the laptop, right? Those are all the hard skills needed. But like, can I make the customer feel comfortable? Can I come dressed? Am I making eye contact, or am I like making people feel like I'm looking past them? Right. So those are it's all the unsaid things that make a successful interaction between humans, and it will make a successful like culture within the day-to-day work.
So let's talk through, like, as we move into this day of AI and this idea of, because I still think we want to be human centered, but AI is becoming this big thing, right? So how do you get soft skills when you've got kind of AI now?
That's actually where I feel like our superpower is, because it's only so much that the AI can do and replicate that interaction. And more than anything, it's like a feeling, right? Like that's really where I feel like soft skills comes down to. When you have an interaction with someone, like, how did they make you feel afterwards? You feel uplifted. And that's what like makes a good leader. That's when people get elevated within their role or position. People that make everyone feel acknowledged, welcome, seen. You don't have to be like Mr. or Mrs. Likeable, but again, there's a certain element of like interacting with everyone, making them feel seen and making them feel pretty much positive at the end of that interaction. And the more people feel like it's transactional, the more people feel like it's surface level, the more that's a bad interaction. But if you look at how AI that's all they are. They're surface level. It's things that have been prompted for the AI to ask. So I don't think it'll ever fully disrupt the entire customer service market, especially like luxury customer service market, things like that. There's going to be some type of where we'll never be able to compete with a real human there.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that because I do think that people are assets. And so I think, and I think AI is a tool. And I think you need an asset and you need tools, so it's part of the ecosystem and operational strategy that you have to have. But I think to your point, it's not replacing. So,
well, and see, here's the other thing. Okay. Well, I'll say this is why I tell people in my ideal candidates too, keep leveling up. You have to keep being a subject matter expert because the caveat to what I just said, everything I just said is that on the basic level, it is wiping out jobs that don't need that luxury hand-on service. If it can be done with prompts and things like that, you're seeing AI take that place or these other robots, right? So like cashiers, even truck drivers, things, so there's this weird thing that's happening with automation at that same time. But again, if you can connect on that higher level and you're using your imagination, you're connecting other folk, it'll never be able to replace you. But on really low hanging fruit jobs, it doesn't matter how much soft skills you have, that you don't need to think as much. And so therefore you will be replaced by a robot, I believe.
And I'm with you on that one.
You're listening to Black Businesses Matter, and we will continue our conversation in a second. But first, take a listen to this special message for our BBM fam.
We know how important it is to stay connected, so why not join our BBM Fam Club for special announcements and exclusive offers by texting BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 today. Now let's get back to Black Businesses Matter.
So let's talk through. So when you think about ideal candidate, this book. So I had a conversation with you about this idea that people are kind of going back to books, right? I believe whether it's Audible, whatever, like the book business is growing. Bookstores are even being opened back up and people are creating bookstores. So you created this book, The Ideal Candidate. Let's talk about it. What is it?
Yeah. So, The Ideal Candidate is the book more revolved around self-sufficiency and living with an attitude of gratitude. And it's, hyper focused on how do I become self-sufficient and especially for that entry level experience. So a lot of times it's like, this is our first time living on our own. So we don't know how to budget for toilet paper, paper towels, toothpaste, right? And so that's why we go over financial literacy, understanding what to do with your credit, how to build that, and how does that impact buying your first car, buying your first home, other credit cards and their interest rate in the future. That's what that book covers. And on the end of that, it also has a 30-day gratitude journal. And the second book here I'm happy to highlight is Savage Soft Skills. And this goes into the communication and really leadership. So as the subtitle is leading with sensitivity and strength. And that's exactly what it talks to. How to stay authentic to yourself in the corporate world by still leading by, staying true to yourself. So some people are going to come in and just have this really domineering, take over the room, and other people are going to lead by, hey, I'm letting my team do this. But both of these individuals are leaders and everyone in between. And so that's what this book is about, how to navigate finding that leadership while still being true to yourself.
And I think it's good to have, because I think it's good that you created this book, honestly, because in some regards, what I see is missing within two generations. I know in my generation, we had networking events, we talk, we network, we this. But there's a point where, and that's where we got the career kind of support and, career development. We were able to do that. Not so much because we're in the tech space. And so everybody's on their phones and their computers, which is great. So just having a book that you can kind of do on your own, right? That 101, because social is hard for you. So I think that's part of the reason why I think books are good, because it's you move at your pace, right? But you have this guideline. And I think this is the way that I think about it. And I can tell this to you, Kevin. I remember when I was in the process of quitting, Okay. Because I was undervalued. The reason why I started my business, because I was undervalued and underappreciated. And I had done all the work, and there was an award that was announced, and I wasn't included in the award. And I was part of, the plan. Like I helped to get us there. And so I had to hear it from someone, not from my boss, not from the CEO. I had to hear it from an outside source that we won an award, right? So at that very moment, I didn't have a phone, right? I mean, at the time, I didn't have this. I went to the bathroom and I just cried. I mean, literally, I cried because I couldn't believe that I had put all this time and all this effort to want to shift a narrative that we didn't have, come up with this amazing campaign, and I was completely not even considered, right? That moment, if I had a book that I could take in the bathroom and just kind of help me skim me through, imagine how I could have showed up as a better leader in that space. Now, right, my response is I quit. I'm not saying that's the best thing. That's what the path that God had for me. But I don't think that that's the path that everyone needs to have, because I still think you have to have leadership, even when you exit, right? And so I think in some regards I did. I kept good relationships from there. But my first response is, I'm out of here. Like, you don't see me. And so, and that happened in 2000. And so I'm saying that to say that just to have that book as a source, like, under your desk, in your bag, like, go to the bathroom, open that book. Like, they can't stop you from that. I think that's the part that they forget. Like, you can't get in trouble for reading.
That's right. And we talk about that in the book. I'm glad you brought it up, like living and how to thrive, like with boundaries in corporate America and how to navigate that. And one thing about the physical books too, just to touch on that point, I'm a big, reader now, especially with the dyslexia. I get like a thing out of it, but it's like a little award for me. Wow. And I don't get that same dopamine hit when it's in the Kindle, right? Like if I walk past my library and I'm like, no, I read all those books. Even my friends are over here like, whoa, like, there's 100 books on their wall. Like over the last 10 years, we've been getting to it, right? So like for me, it's like a reminder, and it's easier for me. Like if I highlight the page or go back to a page, I fold, certain stuff. So like I know there's only 12 folds in here. I could pretty much find what I'm looking for in some of the old books. So there's something to the physical book for me. I just couldn't get with the Kindle life.
I'm a reader, so I had a bookcase, and I could, to your point, could say I read all these books. And to your point, I didn't think of it like that. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront, because I do think that's pretty incredible when I'm like, I read all these books. But I was also that junior achievement. We used to get all these books, and I used to get a kick out of ordering the books and read them, and you get stars and you get all this stuff. You really didn't get money, you just got stars. But I think it goes back to wanting to be acknowledged, right? And wanting to be valued.
And if I could say anything, for anyone that's like on the fence about reading, I'm actually in your same boat. I am not a fictional reader at all. I've never read a fictional book in my entire life. Every single book I've read has been like self-help,
Me too.
Improvement, thought, like something about business, right? Like I read business, but I've read an insurance book. So like something where I feel like I'm going to take this away and I can apply it right away, either personal development or just like life skills.
I love it.
And that helps me to push through with the book as well. Because if I'm reading this about dragons and dungeons and stuff, I'm just like, well, my ADD kicks in and I'm just like, I'm out of here. So if there's anyone like me,
I thought it was something in me. So thank you for giving me permission that I thought it was something wrong with me, because I'm always reading self-help, or I'll read like a true story, like I guess documentary, like a what do you call that?
Biography.
Biographies.
Yes,
I will read a biography.
Can I speak about something about this? I just want to say something. This is a hot button with me. If you read both of my books, it is not about me. And if you are trying to be an author, like anyone listening to this, I read, and I've had so many of my friends that come out with like a book or something. They're like, why doesn't it sell? And Kevin, how are you selling yours? Because no one wants to read your story. I hate to say it. No one wants to read my story. And I'm fully aware of that, right? But they want the information that I have. So again, if you look at even 90% of the bestsellers out there, it's not biographies. The only biographies that sell is like Barack.
That's true.
Someone that's like
Beyonce.
Yeah. So
Oprah
like
Winfrey.
if you're not on that level, you're just a local celebrity, you know, like we all, like some of us, right? Like still, no one really cares about your story. And so I was would say frame it in a way that people can use it. And it's not about, I went and did this and now I'm so cool. And that's how it comes off. And I've been to book launches where it's like, I read the book and it's just like, all right, I'm cool. I'm supported you. But like, I know it's not going to be a bestseller because it's too much about you. You're thinking too much about your ego the whole time you're writing the book. So
that's
I just want to lay that for anyone that's listening. You should be writing it without the ego and about how do you help, and it'll be the best framework for you.
That's awesome. So we have a moment in our podcast where we call it the BBM brag moment. So it's Black Businesses Brag Moment.
Okay.
And so you get to brag anything that you have coming up that you can brag about, or anything that that you're most proud about. It's your brag moment.
I love it. Okay, I got a few things here.
Yes.
I try to roll through them.
Come on.
So first off, I want to give a shout out. I just came from the event, so I'm dressed like this. But Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, super, super grateful for you. So I was just part of their cohort. Probably the best thing was the coaching I got, but the mentor that they placed me with. But I got second place in the pitch contest.
That's huge.
Nice trophy, $2,000. So again, thank you, CMSDC.
Yes.
Grateful for you. Through that, through my mentor that I met through CMSDC, he made a connection for me. So I'm happy to announce I'll be coming out with the first ever soft skill training video game. Wow. So we are, yes.
Y'all heard it first on Black Businesses Matter.
Yes. So,
woo! I love when we drop some good stuff that nobody else knows about. That's hot. That's dope.
The beta should be out January 1st, and the actual full is set for March 1st. So
that's
we're
awesome.
rolling. It's in process. And then again, Savage Soft Skills, this has came out this week, which is why I'm out here campaigning and getting the word out. And then we're also about to launch, we haven't got it yet, but workforce development flashcards. So we're adding to our book of series. So again, if you're listening, we can come in and do training in person, direct training. You can white label our curriculum. So literally, you want to bring it in-house, slap your logo on it. We have that ready for you. We have 2 books and the 30-day gratitude journal. We have flashcards now.
Nice.
We have the Ideal Candidate online, so students can take the training anytime that they would like.
So could you give them your website again?
The idealcandidate.org, and you can tee up all this. And then, lastly, we're coming out with the flashcards. So
that's dope.
Super excited. And then lastly, my last one, if you do see the billboard, there's a billboard going up this week for Savage Soft Skills. So if you're on Canal and Lake, please give me a shout out, take a picture with it. I'll be grateful for it. But yes, thank you for that tee up. That's
so first of all, congratulations to all of it.
Thank you.
We do that brag moment, and I think that's you get the award for bragging the most. And I love that, because this is where brag is accepted and warranted. So I think that's dope. And I'm glad you did a billboard. As a marketing firm, we do that for some of our clients. And we're really trying to push people to it, because it actually, impression wise, it has increased tremendously. So good for you. I don't know who encouraged you, but I'm saying, or did you come up with it? Because it's a very good, it's a good marketing mix to what you do. That's what it's not it's just a mix the things that you're doing. So I think that's powerful.
Thank you.
So with that in vein, what's next? What do you see as the future, for the Ideal Candidate, or just in general, like as you continue to build your thought leadership in your business? What are you seeing as like something that we need to pay attention to? Because we said the evolution of entrepreneurship, ownership. What do people need to be mindful of, right, as they're building, pivoting, evolving their business?
Yes. So the first part of that question, I would say for us, is just growing more in the corporate sector. Is the where our eyesights are for next set. We've been really deep in the organizations and colleges, university space, but for sure on the corporation side, which is why, we've got the MBE and such with CMSDC to get in position for some of those. But that's the next for us. So if you're any, of course, small business owners that need the training, please contact us again, theidealcandidate.org. And I would say if there's anything that I can lay as far as like industry trends that I'm seeing is that a lot of the candidates are unaware that they lack soft skills. That's the thing. It's like if you do the job, you see the job application and you're like, oh, it needs CompTIA A+. Like you're aware you don't know CompTIA. You're aware you don't have this hard skill, but it's like a lot less reflection on the soft skills. And a lot of times the students' own indication where their soft skills are off from where they actually exist in the full realm of where some of the other candidates sit, right? So I would say that's the biggest thing that I would say on like an individual level is like, you know, get some of that help practice. And if you don't go through an organization or program like myself or some of the other, you know, nonprofits or something out there, at least go through and get some type of mentorship, do mock interviews and such before you go out there. And then same thing on if there's any advice for our employers, just invest in the training, right? Like invest in that training. You can't just sit there and complain about it. And it's really hard for you to do that training yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So bring in experts like us that can come in and just revamp that. And it doesn't feel less. It doesn't feel as so direct either. If you're the one that's doing the training, or even your HR is doing the training, so HR is calling me in the office now, I'm in trouble. I feel so stick. If you're bringing in an outside speaker and investing in them now, it's more fun. It's more like gamified, and your employees are going to feel like you're investing in them. So it has a lot of benefits. Yeah.
So I know trends why we have a labor shortage. Do you know why? What's the trends and for the reasons why we have a labor shortage?
I can't answer all of it, but I do still feel like there's a lot of bad practices out there.
Okay.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But I also feel like there's a lot of, like you hear about these organizations, they're putting up ghost jobs.
Yeah.
They're putting up stuff and they're saying they're hiring, but they're really not. So I think there's a lot of that too. And I feel like people bloated their staff over COVID. And I feel like we're seeing a trend of that. Like people are like, hey, we didn't really need as many. And then with remote work, and now we're starting to hire AI. And now, so we may not need these 10, or if it's a Microsoft, these 20,000 people, you know, like, so I feel like that's what's happening. There's an overhiring that happened during COVID, and we're dealing with that. There's AI also taking jobs. And then there's also, you know, these other bad practices where like they're putting up ghost jobs. They may not be giving all of our, you know, Black or brown people chances. And then there's like nepotism or other things. So there's a lot of bad things that are happening. And what I also tell candidates too, you know, we live in Chicago. We live in like the most populated major metropolitan city in the Midwest, at least. And so you got a lot of competition for your job. So it's like, if you're not coming with your best self for it, if you're not, you know, ready, you're not going to have that opportunity. Sometimes you only get that one. And then on the other side, you know, employers, same thing. If you're not attracting the right talent, you may need to look at your culture, your pay, other things that not just, there's nothing out there. There's probably a reason why you're not attracting that talent that you like, right?
That's good.
There's two sides to it, and that's where I try to bridge the gap between those two, but it's definitely not an easy answer for sure.
I appreciate that. So tell me something. Why do Black businesses matter?
That's the only way we're going to change our narrative, is if we get control over our economics and take over. And then with that, you know, we can be buying more real estate, taking over the real estate. I mean, residential and commercial, right? We can be dictating a lot more with if we actually had control of more of the economics. And so I feel like that entrepreneurship is the path to that. And even the path to our hiring issues. We're like, hey, stop trying to get all these like other companies to hire us, and we can create more so we can hire our own, right? And so that's my mindset. I don't want to be like Mr. You know, others. But again, if I'm just like, what's the solution? I'm not a complainer. So if our thing is like, all right, and that's what I feel like Black businesses mean to me. That's why I'm an advocate, like even with Chicago Urban League and, you know, Coach, it's about us taking control of the narrative, us being in control of.
And we can only control the narrative if we're in it.
That's right.
Nobody else can control that narrative. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this has been incredible, Kevin. And I say this, you know, because we feature a lot of service-based businesses, and we know that you pour to help people. And that's important. You know, it's a people management business. And so with that, as someone who pours, what brings you joy?
seeing the successes. The success. I'll tell one. So I've got 4 on my staff now, and 2 out of my 4 actually passed Ideal Candidate graduates.
Wow.
So our program director, Haley Diome, she graduated in 2019.
Okay.
And our program manager, Maria Rivera, graduated in 2018. So they both come back as interns and then came back as managing interns and came back as like part-time as they got their degrees. And now they're back with us full-time. So I think that also speaks to our organization.
Yeah, it does.
And,
it
just seeing them excel.
As a leader.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But, some of the other students that didn't come back and work for me, now they're such and such title at these major Fortune 100 companies and doing their thing. So some have started businesses. That's another thing. But a vast majority are just like killing it in the corporate America.
I love it. But I do believe that when you have a direct connect of someone, I can speak for myself. I worked at a daycare center, Black woman, had an incredible business. Her husband worked, her kids worked. So I didn't have a shortage of Black businesses as I was matriculating through life. Yeah. So I knew firsthand who Black businesses were. So it was easy that I knew that I was going to run a business because that was what I saw, right? And I believe when you see it, it's easy for you to believe that it's achievable, right? That's my model. I don't think if you don't see it, you believe that it's out of reach for you.
Both my parents were entrepreneurs, so
I heard that when you heard that about your mom.
So my mom was a performing arts school, and my father owned a construction remodeling company.
That's awesome.
I grew up working in both of their businesses and seeing the ups and downs. But yeah, I agree. Seeing both of them was what planted the seed for me. Like, I can do this. And it was almost expected for me to do it, right? Like,
absolutely. You were set up. This was incredible. Oh my gosh. You were just amazing. Guys, have been in panels with Kevin and watched him grow this business. So I'm really proud of you and the success that you have done and the pivot that you've done as a business owner. But I am going to say this because I just want you to know, while this man is doing all these incredible things, he also has two babies and one on the way. So I need y'all to understand that he is also creating seeds. So that's incredible. While he's helping other people, he is also building a legacy, and I think that's dope.
That's why I'm bald on this second book, but I'm just kidding. I appreciate you again. I'm so grateful. And that's what it's about. So anyone, again, Kevin Davenport, I'm on LinkedIn.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Please contact me or the website, theidealcandidate.org. I'll be so grateful. And again, the 2 books, The Ideal Candidate and Savage Soft Skills, the brand new one. So grateful again. Thank you. Thank you,
guys. This was awesome. Check out The Ideal Candidate. Kevin Davenport. He is on LinkedIn. That's where he is. Published some really great content. So make sure that you give a shout out to him. But most importantly, support the business, like it, support it, invest in it. You all know how we roll. Thank you, Kevin. This was a pleasure. And guys, thank you all. As you all know, we are launching a new digital mag. And so we're hoping that in our next edition, we can get Kevin, because I think he is just outstanding, just an all around remarkable human being who is just changing the world literally with people. And I think it's incredible because we need these kinds of businesses. We need it, these kinds of businesses out. So I am grateful for you. And so know that the digital mag will have some exciting stories that you guys can continue to lean into. And so just be on the lookout. We are excited about launching it. And so it's just an extension to the podcast. We believe that, to Kevin's point, right? The idea that people can kind of touch it, feel it, see it. And then there's audio that can go, because he said it, like there's no satisfaction in just having the Kindle book. So we realize that sometimes you just want to touch it and feel it. So I think that's important. So thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll see you next week.
Every time I have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the businesses that are existing within my community, I'm in awe. Kevin has built a business that addresses the needs of so many up-and-coming professionals. One of the biggest takeaways from our conversation is establishing a strong culture and defining how your business operates is just as important as the products or service you offer. One thing that made it unique was the way that Kevin kind of focused on soft skills within his business model. I feel like a lot of times with the professional development places, they'll focus on the hard skills and what you can bring to the table, but not really the aspects that really make the business run. I truly appreciate Kevin for shedding a light on this. In my experience working here at the L3 agency, where there's such an emphasis on culture, is such a welcoming, creative, and nurturing environment that fosters innovation. Take a moment to reflect. What is the culture of your business? And perhaps more importantly, would your employees be able to clearly articulate that? If you're a budding professional or current business owner, check out the show notes and learn a bit more about Kevin and the ideal candidate. Don't forget to join our community. Text BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 for access to exclusive offers, special events, and projects like our latest and greatest BBM Mag.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.